the late summer of 1998. The air in Stanford's computer science department office was thick with anticipation and the scent of lukewarm coffee. Two brilliant PhD students, Larry Page and Sergey Brin, stood at a crossroads. Their groundbreaking backrub project, an algorithm that ranked web pages by importance, had evolved into a powerful search engine. Friends and advisors urged them to commercialize it, to launch a company. Yet, the allure of academic research, the freedom to explore theoretical frontiers without the pressures of venture capital and corporate growth, was a powerful counter-argument. The decision they were about to make would ripple through the very fabric of the Internet. In this alternate timeline, Larry and Sergey ultimately chose to remain at Stanford. The intellectual challenge of refining their algorithms within an academic framework, publishing papers, and mentoring new students proved more compelling than the uncertain world of startups. Their research continued to influence the emerging field of information retrieval, but their search engine, though highly sophisticated, remained a university project, never scaling beyond limited internal use. The idea of commercializing PageRank and building a massive advertising business around it simply never materialized. The ambitious dream of organizing the world's information would remain a theoretical pursuit, not a global company. With no nascent Google to challenge its dominance, AltaVista cemented its position as the Internet's premier search engine. Launched in 1995 by Digital Equipment Corporation, AltaVista was already renowned for its speed and comprehensive indexing capabilities. Without the innovation of PageRank offering a fundamentally better way to sort results, its relevancy algorithms, while imperfect, remained the industry standard. Its simple interface, clean and uncluttered, became the gateway for millions navigating the rapidly expanding World Wide Web. Digital, recognizing the goldmine, invested heavily, ensuring AltaVista remained at the technological forefront of information retrieval. Seeing AltaVista's success, Yahoo, then a dominant portal, made a strategic decision. Rather than merely licensing search technology, co-founders Jerry Yang and David Filo recognized the imperative of owning the search experience end-to-end. That summer, they embarked on an aggressive acquisition strategy, culminating in a lucrative deal to acquire AltaVista itself. This bold move transformed Yahoo into the undisputed gatekeeper of the Internet. It was no longer just a directory but the primary destination for search, news, email, and shopping, a digital empire built on comprehensive information access and a vast user base. Its brand became synonymous with online discovery. Without Google's pioneering AdWords and AdSense, the Internet's advertising ecosystem evolved very differently. There was no single, dominant platform controlling the vast majority of online ad revenue. Instead, a myriad of smaller ad networks, exchanges, and direct publisher relationships proliferated. Companies like Overture, later acquired by Yahoo and Our Reality, but perhaps independent here, DoubleClick, before Google's acquisition, and countless niche players jostled for market share. Advertisers faced a more complex, fragmented landscape, but publishers had greater leverage, negotiating deals with multiple vendors rather than being beholden to one giant. The Internet economy, while still ad-driven, was significantly more decentralized. Throughout the early 2000s, the Internet remained largely an era of portals. AOL, MSN, and most significantly, Yahoo, continued to be the primary gateways for users. These platforms offered a curated, often walled garden experience, bundling search, news, email, and chat services. The concept of a universal, unbiased search engine as a starting point for discovery never quite took hold in the same way. Users often stayed within the confines of their chosen portal, making it harder for independent websites to gain visibility without direct promotion or directory listings. This shaped a more fragmented Internet experience, less about freeform exploration and more about curated content. Despite the absence of Google, the fundamental human desire to share and watch video remained. In February 2005, 3 former PayPal employees, Chad Hurley, Steve Chen, and Jawed Karim, still conceived of and launched YouTube. The idea was simple yet revolutionary, a platform where anyone could easily upload, share, and view videos. Its initial growth was organic and explosive, fueled by viral hits and a burgeoning community. The need for such a service was undeniable, and YouTube quickly became the default destination for user-generated content, an oasis of creative expression in an internet still dominated by corporate portals. Without Google's immense financial backing and technical infrastructure, YouTube's journey was far more precarious. Scaling video hosting and streaming for millions of users quickly became a monumental, expensive challenge. Bandwidth costs alone could cripple a nascent startup. Monetization was also a constant struggle. Traditional display ads didn't fit neatly into video content, and a truly effective video ad model was still years away. The platform fought continuous battles against copyright infringement, lacking the legal and financial muscle to fully protect creators while also appeasing media companies. Its survival was a testament to sheer willpower and a dedicated user base, but growth was slower, more arduous. Before the smartphone revolution, the mobile landscape was a patchwork of operating systems and devices. Nokia, with its Symbian OS, reigned supreme, offering robust, if somewhat clunky, feature-rich phones. BlackBerry dominated the business world with its secure messaging and physical keyboards. Microsoft attempted to push Windows Mobile, struggling to gain consumer traction. These were powerful devices for their time, but lacked the fluidity, app ecosystem, and touch-first interface that would soon redefine mobile computing. The idea of a pocket-sized computer, truly capable of seamless internet browsing and a universe of applications, was still largely confined to science fiction. On January 9, 2007, Steve Jobs still unveiled the revolutionary iPhone, forever changing expectations for mobile devices. Its multi-touch interface, sleek design, and true internet browsing capabilities were a revelation. iOS, Apple's proprietary operating system, was innovative and intuitive. However, in this alternate reality, there was no Android. Google, the company that acquired Android in 2005 and nurtured its development, simply didn't exist. This meant no open-source, flexible alternative to Apple's walled garden. The mobile world fractured into two distinct camps: Apple's premium, closed ecosystem, and the struggling, disparate offerings from incumbent players like Nokia and Microsoft. The absence of Android left a gaping void in the mobile operating system market. Apple's iOS quickly became the gold standard for consumer experience, but its closed nature and high price point limited accessibility. Nokia's Symbian, though still widely used, struggled to adapt to the touch-first paradigm. Microsoft poured resources into Windows Phone, but its late entry and lack of developer support hampered its adoption. BlackBerry clung to its enterprise niche. The vibrant, competitive innovation driven by Android's open platform, which pushed hardware makers to constantly improve, was simply missing. The smartphone market became a battleground of fragmented, often incompatible ecosystems. The app revolution, a cornerstone of modern mobile life, was also profoundly different. Apple's App Store, launched in 2008, remained the undisputed leader, attracting the best developers due to its large user base and streamlined monetization. However, with no Android, other platforms struggled to build compelling app libraries. Developers faced the daunting task of porting their applications across multiple, often incompatible, operating systems: Symbian, Windows Phone, BlackBerry OS. This significantly slowed the growth of the app economy, leading to fewer apps, higher development costs, and a less rich experience outside of the Apple ecosystem. Innovation was centralized, not diffused. By 2009, YouTube, still facing immense operational costs and monetization challenges, could no longer go it alone. The question wasn't if it would be acquired, but by whom. In this reality, a major media conglomerate, perhaps Viacom or News Corp, or even a telecom giant like AT&T, stepped in. The acquisition was likely smaller than Google's $1.65 billion deal, reflecting YouTube's more tenuous financial position. Its new owner, focused on traditional media assets, steered YouTube toward a more curated, broadcast-like model. The emphasis shifted from user-generated content and open platforms to premium, studio-produced videos, and stricter copyright enforcement. Under the stewardship of its new media owner, YouTube's identity transformed. The vibrant, often chaotic, creator-driven community that defined its early years began to wane. The focus shifted heavily towards licensed content, TV shows, movies, and music videos from its parent company's vast library. While still a destination for video, it resembled a digital cable provider more than a free-for-all platform for independent voices. The concept of the YouTube celebrity as we know it barely existed. Algorithmic recommendations favored mainstream media. This meant less diverse content, fewer opportunities for independent creators, and a more controlled, less dynamic video landscape. By 2016, the ad tech landscape remained a complex wilderness, fiercely competitive and highly fragmented. Without Google's unified platform, AdWords, AdSense, DoubleClick, advertisers navigated a maze of demand-side platforms, DSPs, supply-side platforms, SSPs, and ad exchanges. While this led to more competition and potentially better rates for some, it also meant increased complexity, slower innovation in ad targeting, and less centralized data. Tracking user behavior across sites was harder, and the sophisticated, programmatic advertising tools we take for granted developed much slower, if at all. The battle for ad dollars was fought by many, not dominated by one. In 2018, the smartphone market looked dramatically different. Apple's iOS commanded an even larger global market share, perhaps reaching 60 to 70%, as it remained the only truly viable, high-quality smartphone OS for consumers. The remaining market was a fractured battleground. Microsoft's Windows Phone, though improved, struggled with market share and app support. BlackBerry had largely faded. Perhaps some regional or niche open-source efforts, or a heavily modified Symbian, carved out small portions. Phone prices for premium devices were higher due to less competition, and device innovation, while present in Apple's ecosystem, lacked the rapid, competitive pushes seen with Android. By 2020, Yahoo Search, powered by its AltaVista legacy, was still the dominant force in information retrieval. However, its innovation had stagnated compared to our reality. Without the constant push from Google's algorithmic advancements, search results were often less personalized, less intuitive, and more reliant on traditional keyword matching and directory structures. Bing, Microsoft's search engine, emerged as its closest competitor, often praised for its image search but still a distant second. The expectation of instant, highly relevant answers to complex queries simply wasn't as prevalent. Users learned to adapt to a less sophisticated search experience. The lack of a single, all-encompassing tech giant like Alphabet Incorporated meant that data privacy and antitrust concerns were far more distributed. There wasn't one company holding the keys to search, advertising, mobile OS, and video. Instead, regulators would be grappling with issues across multiple, powerful entities: Apple's mobile dominance, Yahoo's search and portal empire, and various ad tech networks. While privacy would still be a paramount concern, the narratives around big tech would be less focused on a single entity and more on the collective power of several large players, potentially leading to more fragmented, but also more diverse, regulatory approaches. By 2024, the creator economy as we know it would be significantly smaller and more fragmented. Without the global reach, robust monetization tools, and massive audience of our YouTube, independent creators would struggle immensely. Many video creators would remain niche, operating on smaller, often less financially viable platforms, or relying heavily on direct fan support. The path to becoming a global online celebrity through user-generated content would be far more arduous. Creativity would still exist, of course, but the barrier to entry for widespread recognition and sustainable income would be much higher, favoring established media entities over individual talent. Fast forward to 2026, and the internet is a profoundly different place. There is no Google. No Alphabet Incorporated. The power structure is decentralized, albeit still concentrated among several large corporations like Apple and Yahoo. Search is functional but perhaps less intelligent, ad targeting is less sophisticated but also less pervasive from a single entity. Mobile innovation is driven primarily by Apple, with limited open-source competition. YouTube exists, but as a more traditional media hub, rather than a global platform for individual voices. This is an internet of distributed power, perhaps less efficient, but also one where the risks of monopolization are spread across many players. The decision Larry Page and Sergey Brin made in that Stanford office in 1998 created a cascade of ripple effects, shaping the digital world we know today. In this alternate reality, the internet is not necessarily worse, but fundamentally different. It's a world where innovation happens in diverse pockets, where competition for attention and advertising is fiercer across a wider field of players. The dream of organizing all the world's information might not have been fully realized by a single entity, but the collective ambition of many companies continued to push the boundaries. It reminds us how a single choice, made by two individuals, can alter the trajectory of an entire era.